The Homestuck Epilogues summary: meat. Upon making his choice, John is placated by the red meat, but only temporarily. His thoughts turn to Lord English and the various horrible crimes committed by him. John decides that he must leave Earthsea, return to canon, and kill Lord English, thereby completing the sequence of events necessary to prevent canonical dissipation. He says farewell to Roxy and Calliope and makes his departure. Following Rose's instructions, John first travels to the Game Over timeline, to the moment where Arania makes her attempt to appropriate the Ring of Life and doom everyone. He knocks her out and takes the ring, thereby diverting this timeline from the original sequence of events. John leaves Gamzee in the fridge, where he belongs. Now that this timeline has been splintered off from canon, its residents are available for other purposes. As such, John now recruits the remaining kids as 16-year-olds for the final fight with Lord English. The 8 of them return to Earth A a week before April 13th, 2009 to formulate their battle plans. And then, it's showtime. John and the teens arrive at the site of Caliborn's masterpiece. Upon the delivery of a scathing assessment of the young cherub's artistic prowess, and a punchline long in the making, the final battle commences. A whole bunch of shit happens that we already saw, but not in Plasticine this time. John, Rose, and Dave all end up stuck inside the House Juju, where they remain until Vriska deploys it in several quadrillion years' time. John, Rose, and Dave all end up stuck inside the House Juju, where they remain until Vriska deploys it in several quadrillion years' time. John has an important revelation about his mental health in the meanwhile. When they emerge, the second final battle is already in progress. Calliope's black hole has swallowed the green sun and started to consume Paradox space, but the final blow to Lord English is yet to be inflicted. The kids join the fight alongside the army of Dream Bubble Ghosts, including Mina and Tavros. Things quickly take a turn for the dire. Rose is consumed in a beam of energy, Jade is fatally impaled on a shard of the void, Tavros is disintegrated, and Mina is seemingly thrown into the singularity. Only John and Dave remain. However, they are aided at the last minute by Dave Petasprite Squared, who rescues John from being eaten by Lord English. Dave is not so fortunate, fortunate, and is decapitated. In retaliation, Dave Peta impales Lord English on their claws and flies into the black hole with him in tow. The fight is won, but at a terrible cost. John has been skewered by one of Lord English's teeth, and begins to fall prey to a deadly venom. He loses consciousness. He is soon compelled to awaken by an external influence he cannot identify. John contemplates the inherent futility of his existence, before coming across his dad's wallet modus and taking it with him. He finds Mina, not yet double dead, clinging to a server beacon. She steals the Ring of Life from him and makes her escape through the server. He then encounters Terezi, who has been searching for Vriska for an indeterminate amount of time, and who is on the brink of starvation. John deploys the contents of his father's wallet. Terezi gorges herself on a hearty meal of pipe tobacco and shaving cream. John cannot help but be smitten. For several days, the pair of them camp out in John's dad's spare car. Eventually, Terezi offers to remove the tooth still embedded in John's abdomen. He assents, and she performs the impromptu surgery. In the heat of the moment, the two embrace passionately. They then fuck in the back of the car, and that's really all there is to say on the matter. John convinces Terezi to return to Earthsea with him. But when they arrive, our hero finally succumbs to Lord English's venom, which has the effect of corroding a person's canonical existence beyond any hope of revival. John Egbert dies in Terezi's arms, ostensibly for good. His story is at an end. Events on Earthsea. Meanwhile, on Earthsea, things have been getting political. Jane Crocker has decided to run for presidency of the Earth, the first time one of the 12 players has attempted such a maneuver. There is a sinister pretext to her bid for power. This year is the first time that the new Mother Grub will be used to propagate the troll population on Earthsea, as opposed to simple cloning. Jane is running on a platform which many suspect would curtail the reproductive rights of the troll race on Earthsea, and which Karkat and Dave believe to be some real xenophobic bullshit. Dave also thinks that Jane's economic plans leave something to be desired. He convinces Karkat to campaign in opposition to her. The two discuss the likely allegiances of their remaining friends, who together comprise the most powerful and influential people on the planet. Kanaya, Rose, and Jade will be likely allies to their cause. Dirk, Jane's campaign manager, is already accounted for. Roxy and Calliope are neutral parties, as is Jake. English, the most successful celebrity figure of them all, will be the deciding factor in the election, with both sides furiously courting his endorsement. Once their plan is decided, Dave gets a call from his brother. Dirk holds up a live episode of Rumble in the Pumpkin Patch, a rap battle robot wrestling hybrid which he co-hosts with Jake, in order to have this conversation. The crowd is not amused. After soliloquizing ominously to Dave for a while, Dirk hangs up and resumes the show. Jake proceeds to perform the worst rap in the history of Paradox Space. Dirk then tranquilizes him and ends the episode in order to field a call from Rose, who is contacting him to discuss her condition. Dirk reveals that he is already aware of this apparent secret, and moreover that he is suffering the same sickness despite not showing any of the same symptoms. He invites Rose to his studio to discuss the matter further. Sometime later, Dave, Karkat, and Jade discuss strategy. Things quickly take a turn for the uncomfortable, however, as Jade manages to turn the conversation to the subject of their three-way relationship dynamic. In particular, she focuses on Dave and Karkat's feelings for each other. Dave and Karkat vehemently deny any romantic feelings, despite literally all evidence to the contrary. Jade draws a shipping grid and leaves the two of them to think about it. They pretend not to think about it very, very hard indeed. Jane attempts to woo Jake to her campaign unsuccessfully. Not to be deterred, she invites him to her office, where she tries to seduce him physically as well as politically. In this moment of intimacy, Jake's thoughts cannot help but turn to Dirk, however. He makes his excuses and leaves. Jane furiously rings her campaign manager, unaware that he is the reason for this unfortuitous development. Dirk offers to deal with Jake before hanging up quickly as Rose arrives. The two need to talk. Dirk offers to deal with Jake before hanging up quickly as Rose arrives. The two need to talk. Over the course of the conversation, Rose's condition deteriorates further before she loses consciousness. Dirk, who has secretly already come into his own as an ascended self, openly claims control of the narrative of Homestuck. The prince is awake, and our shit is wrecked. Jade attempts to persuade Roxy and Calliope to endorse Karkat's campaign, but they are unconvinced. Roxy is unwilling to go against such a close friend, and Callie is uncomfortable with taking sides. The two of them come out as non-binary, to Jade and Dirk's surprise. At a moment circumstantially simultaneous with her alternate self's death in the furthest ring, Jade suddenly passes out. This alternate self, experiencing her last moments after the battle with Lord English, approaches the supermassive black hole which was once the green sun. She is beckoned forward by the voice of Calliope's god-tier self, who speaks in the narrative text in opposition to Dirk. He panics and quickly shifts our focus back to Earth. She is beckoned forward by the voice of Calliope's god-tier self, who speaks in the narrative text in opposition to Dirk. He panics and quickly shifts our focus back to Earth. Dave and Karkat visit Kanaya in the Brooding Caverns and discuss the election. Kanaya reveals that Jane has already visited the caverns in an attempt to curry favor with the Troll Kingdom. Kanaya believes that while Crocker's intentions may be good, her xenophobic beliefs about troll reproduction border on the fascistic and are too dangerous to be ignored. She agrees to aid Karkat's campaign, and then attempts to phone Rose. Dirk picks up instead. She agrees to aid Karkat's campaign, and then attempts to phone Rose. Dirk picks up instead. He rebuffs Kanaya's inquiries into her wife's health, hanging up on her in order to continue talking with Rose, who is now very weak. She is on the verge of ascension, her physical body barely able to contain her higher self. So far, she has resisted the urge, but Dirk convinces her to fail to resist the urge. From this point on, he holds her physical body together with his powers until such time as he is able to deposit her soul into a vessel of his own construction. Teen Jade falls into the black hole. The dead cherub uses her as a beacon to gain access to the narrative, now openly challenging Dirk's control. The two fight for supremacy as the adult Jade wakes up on Earthsea. Her newfound consciousness and the battle are both short-lived, however. as the dead cherub takes possession of her body and the narrative in one fell swoop. The prince is, for the moment, outmatched. Jane returns from the campaign trail, where she has been using trickster mode as a publicity strategy. Dirk warns her against overindulgence, and the two discuss the Jake stakes once again. Dirk says that he is working on a backup plan, now that his influence has been curtailed somewhat. Meanwhile, Dave and Karkat successfully convinced Jake to endorse their campaign, and Team Vantis organize a stadium event to announce this fact. Things do not go according to plan. While Dave and Roxy discuss the queer experience at the rally, Dirk ascends the bell tower with Roxy's red sniper rifle in hand, apparently intending to assassinate or tranquilize Jake during his speech. The dead cherub attempts to stop him through narrative fiat, but is outwitted. Dirk, in fact, snipes Jade with the tranquilizer dart, which has the effect of ending the dead cherub's possession. Without Jade to act as her beacon, she is forced to relinquish narrative control to the prince. Back in the stadium, Jake declares his love for Dirk Strider and switches his endorsement at the last minute. The Vantis campaign collapses, and Jane coasts into office unopposed. A month passes. Jade remains comatose in hospital during this time. Terezi, who recently returned to Earth with John, meets Roxy outside. After the two catch up and Roxy departs, Dirk reveals that he and Rose will be leaving Earth-C momentarily, and invites Terezi to join them. She brings John's captured corpse with her. Rose and Dirk prepare for their departure. Dirk uses Kanaya's insecurities to manipulate her into accepting her wife's decision to leave, simultaneously convincing Rose that Kanaya has no qualms in letting her go. Dirk leaves Kanaya the antidote for the tranquilizer he used on Jade before making his way to Jake's mansion. Once there, he requests the use of the fastest Skynet starship available. Jake, who is now completely and openly infatuated with Dirk, and who believes he will be coming along on this voyage, readily obliges. Dirk gives him the bad news. English will be staying behind with Jane, ready to serve as the father to countless generations of her new presidential dictatorship. He kisses Jake one last time, saying that they will never meet again. Back at Dave and Karkat's house, the two mourn their political careers. The commiseration session takes a turn for the personal, and they discuss their relationship, subtly, and not so subtly, egged on by an impatient Dirk. The two affirm their friendship, but this time it's not enough. For once in his life, Dave takes the initiative. They kiss. Dave Cat is canon. Kanaya and Roxy visit Jade in the hospital. Calliope, who was negatively affected by the presence of their dead alternate self, has since shut themselves in at home and begun religiously scrawling on the walls. Kanaya gives Jade the antidote, and she wakes up. Jade, who is now somehow aware of Dirk's influence, declares that he must be stopped. Dirk agrees with her, claiming his role as the villain of the story outright. He states that his eventual death will be just. Kanaya realizes the extent of Dirk's manipulation, but it is too late. He is already gone. The dead cherub resumes her possession of Jade and seizes the narrative once more. Though she has sworn neutrality, she points to the remaining players in the direction that Dirk, Rose, and Terezi have fled. Kanaya, Roxy, Dave, and Karkat resolve to give chase. Years later, we see Dirk, Rose, now in a robot body, and Terezi approach a new planet. The most important spur obsession in the history of existence is about to unfold.
Now you're all caught up and ready for Homestuck 2. If you'd like to see a full Let's Read of the Epilogues, come visit our friends over at the Soup Kitchen. See you next time!